this event is approved and accredited by United Nations to be as a side event. It's been a very exciting week for us at the UN. There's so many things going on. We're calling and recalling the urgency for green action for the global agenda for 2030. It's been selected carefully that no matter what we do, we don't want to just do same business, traditional business. We want green business, and this has been very challenging still until the 2030. Yes, we are in the middle of the road, but there's so many things to be done.
If you were at the SDG 13 session this morning, you saw that Fazal was one of the lead discussants representing us at the high-level political forum, and we're so thrilled to be able to be with you as part of this session today. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has stated, quote, "In every community on the planet, volunteers are taking actions to support the most vulnerable people, including in the midst of conflict and other humanitarian emergencies. Young volunteers are joining the fight for climate action, pressing governments, businesses, and policymakers to take decisions needed to end this planetary crisis. Volunteers are changing attitudes one person at a time." As the Leave No One Behind motto on the 2030 agenda stipulates, we cannot leave behind those most impacted by climate change.
We have had very, very successful conditions across quite a few years. It really has been a very rich world. Question for me is, what are we getting into? What do we need to really address? I think here also of all kinds of people who are simply outside our reach, and we might do a bit better on that front. But I also think that we have new instrumentalities, new very powerful machinery, so to say. How can we use those to really capture the miseries, for instance, of certain situations, or to understand something better? How can we make it all work?
We're seeing these increasing climate extremes and extreme events and their impacts on cities around the world. Cities are also all over the world developing climate adaptation plans and then implement strategies to become more resilient to those increasing extremes.
It's always a pleasure to engage with the Saudi Green Building Forum. We are working to harness clean tech innovation education to achieve Agenda 2030. Small island developing states often face climate change-induced water insecurity. We are harnessing clean energy in agriculture through agrivoltaics, empowering rural women and young farmers to increase their crop yield through the dual use of solar energy in agriculture.
And it's kind of centered around a green economy action plan that we developed and released earlier this year. This is to prepare New York City's economy to transition into a really climate conscious economy and spur growth in the private and public industries. And so the point number one is very much something that we found out in this study, that public entities are most effective when working in partnerships. So what are the losses that you're averting, the particulate matter that are going into kids' lungs in the school example that you gave, the costs in health, destruction to our future generations, the destruction to our planet. And so understanding, really thinking of it as averting those losses and perhaps reducing the destruction that our development causes, I think is a mind shift that we as owners need to rethink.
When we think about decarbonization of cities, I think a huge challenge that we have in front of us is the growing population, right? The United Nations say by the end of the century, we're going to be 11 billion people on this planet. And that's almost 3 billion more than what we are today. And a year ago, I did a little math to kind of understand how much space do we need to accommodate these 11 billion people. And there's about 2.4 trillion square feet of space. And let me just put this into perspective for you. That space is equivalent to building one Manhattan every month for the next 40 years. That is the amount of density and space we will need to accommodate.
We see an architect, we see a scientist, we see
city planners, we see a social sector person, and this is where we need to be in terms of how we solve problems, how we solve climate problems. And it's great that we are having this conversation in a university.
Another piece of misinformation is the claim that individual efforts don't matter, which discourages people from taking actions and realizing their impact. Students' engagement with leading scholars, faculties, and community leaders plays a crucial role in spreading accurate information. I work closely with my peers in the Arab region to identify reliable sources and provide informative and documented green energy approaches. We debunk myths by showcasing clear scientific evidence and presenting research papers which highlights the cost-effectiveness of renewable energy approaches.
The whole world is improving and moving forward to achieve these goals. If we reach 2030 and we did not achieve, this is a learn. We have to learn from them. Then we can see what are our mistakes. How can we, correct it in the future? Then we can go forward.
That's exactly what we're trying to do today. Blend and understand the others so we can accomplish everything together.